Hi, welcome back to class number 2. I am Stephen Nitz. Thank you so much for being here. Our first class, we looked at how to get footage off of our camera onto an external hard drive, NAS, your computer, whatever you have available to you. Now that we have our footage safely on our external hard drive, what we want to do is bring it into Premiere and actually start working with it. The next thing I would typically do, and sometimes I do this step just before, is create bins. The more footage you have, the more content type you have, the more bins you're going to want to create. Think about bins like you would categories. If you have a bunch of music, create a bin for all of your music. If you have a bunch of graphics, create a bin for all of your graphics. If you have a big shoot over several days, maybe you want to make a bin for day 1, a bin for day 2. Maybe you want to make bins based on location, right? Let's say you're working on a feature film or a short film, and it'll make more sense for you within the edit to have your footage organized based off of location or scene. So think about those things as you make your bins, as you try to organize your footage so that you can kind of keep things in a way that makes sense to you. So down here, bottom left where you see the projects panel, you'll see a few icons. One of them looks like a folder. If you click that, you'll see a bin pop up. First thing I'm going to do is create one that simply says footage. I'm going to highlight everything and I'm going to drop it in that bin. Nice, cleaned, organized. I'm going to make another one, new bin. I'm going to call it music. Make another new bin. Maybe I call this one graphics, if I have graphics I'm bringing in. Sometimes I'll use stock footage in an edit, so I'll use, stock. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm just giving you an example of a bin structure, a way of organizing your media. So as you work on your project, as you get more footage, as you get music, as you get kind of different elements to build out your edit, you have a nice, clean, organized way of keeping it. Because again, the more organized you are, the easier your edit is going to be. The last thing you want to do is dump everything into one location and then have to search through this huge big list of video and music and graphics and things to kind of find the specific element you're looking for. The advantage of staying organized with folders on the File Explorer side and bins on the Premiere Pro side is to create efficiency in your workflow. You know where it is, you know what scene it is, you know what time of day it is, you can find it all the faster and get it into your project. For this one, the test footage that I have shot and shared in the description below, it's just one scene. It's me making a cup of coffee. So I really don't need to create more bins or organize it any further than what I've done. Now we can actually get started with the edit. And there is a lot to be said at this particular step with how we actually start a timeline and a sequence within that timeline. The easiest way is to open up your footage bin, grab the top clip, come over to this dog-eared kind of piece of paper and release. Premiere Pro is automatically going to make a sequence based on the spec of your camera or that file type. So I shot 4K 24. This sequence setting is now in 4K 24. And that's a very easy, quick way to just create your actual timeline and get into the editing without having to know too much about sequence settings. So what I like to do from this point is rename it. Again, this is coffee. I do a little underscore. Some people put their initials. I like to use dates. The reason why I like to use the dates is because Premiere will create auto save files. So if I ever mess up my edit and I want to go back in time, I can simply look at those auto saves and pick whatever dates, I last remember the project working. So today is April 17th. So I'm going to go ahead and add 4/17/26, just like that. And now you'll notice here, sequences have a slightly different looking icon to the left. It kind of has like these little sliders on it, as opposed to the media itself has kind of like a film clip and a waveform. So I want to, in the name of staying organized and staying efficient, is move this sequence file out of my footage bin and into my sequences bin. So now I can simply tab open sequences and see there it is, here's my edit. Now whether or not I'm actually going to use this footage in my edit doesn't matter. The sequence is made, I can delete that shot and I still have the sequence, and that sequence is still going to work for all of this footage. Why? Because that sequence is based off of that file type, which is based off of this camera. So if you're ever experiencing an issue with your project, let's say you're getting an error code that Premiere missed a render or dropped a frame, The most likely reason that's happening is because your sequence settings don't match your camera settings. And that can cause a whole world of problems. So as a beginner, as somebody that's just getting started, this method works the best. It's the easiest because if you drag and drop using that little dog ear method, you'll know that the sequence settings matches your camera setting. If you need to change it or do something a little different, that's a little bit more advanced, and I'm gonna release courses on that kind of thing later. All right, so now I'm in my timeline, I have my sequence, I have my footage. The next thing I'm gonna do is start reviewing what I have. I don't think you can properly edit something unless you know every piece of information that you have available to you to actually craft, to actually edit, to actually flesh out what the thing is. So I like to watch every frame, I like to listen to every byte, I like to read every email, every page on a script. I like to have as much information as I possibly can about what the project is going to be before I start the edit. Okay, so now I'm actually going through my footage, I'm reviewing what I have, and I'm starting to form some ideas of what I want to drop in the timeline. So how do I start doing that? How do I actually start roughing out some stuff to look at? And the first thing I do after I've gone through all my clips is I remember, okay, you know, this shot in particular kind of had a lot of heads on it. Heads is all of the space, all of the time, all of the filming that takes place before the actual like moment in the clip. So all of this heads I don't need. I want all of this, and then when the cabinet closes, I'm done with it. This is the beginning of 3-point editing. Everything you've ever seen from, you know, Oscar-winning feature films to short little edits on social media, use 3-point editing. It is the foundation, it is the groundwork, it is the beginning of an edit. And the better you get at 3-point editing, the better your overall edit is going to be. And that is marking your in point, marking your out point, and then dragging down to the timeline. So within Premiere Pro, the I key marks in, the O key marks out. So within this shot, I know I want to start at, right before the camera opens, and I know I want to end right after it closes. So I've marked these 2 points. This little guy right here, this is called your playhead. You can drag that to where you want to start or stop your clip and mark your points, I or O. So if I wanted a little bit more, I can bring my playhead over, bring a little bit more. I want a little bit less, bring my playhead over, hit I, grab a little bit less. There are 3 ways to get this footage from your source monitor down into your timeline. The first way, you can grab up here on the file itself and bring it on down. And it brings both elements with it. It brings the video piece and it brings the sound. The second way, you'll notice there's a couple little icons here. Let's say I don't need the sound, I just want the visual. I'll grab the film, bring that down, and it's just the visual. Let's say I only want the sound. That's where you grab the waveform, bring that down, and it is just the sound. So those are 3 ways that you can kind of bring footage from your source monitor down into your timeline. And that's it for this class. So we have made bins, we've organized our footage into those bins, and we've started actually constructing our timeline with 3-point editing. And again, that's the foundation of post-production, marking your in point, marking your out point, and dragging something to the timeline. It is the art of selecting the portion of a shot that you need for your edit and actually putting it in the sequence. So why don't you go ahead now at the end of this class, go through your footage, mess around with 3-point editing, mark in points, mark out points, drop stuff on the timeline, and see what kind of sequence you can make. In our next class, we'll actually get into moving stuff around on the timeline, the different tools right here that we have available to us, things to kind of start working on our rough cut. All right, thank you so much for checking out number 2. Looking forward to seeing you, or you seeing me, in number 3.